The night of the 17th of October 2025. It's getting chilly. There's a bit of an east wind. You'd want some form of heating in the house. Anyway, I told you about the digger, the Hitachi digger, and the push-pull cable for the throttle, and I've done a good job on that. It's very flimsy. The one that was on it was very flimsy, and it had a ball joint, which meant it could wobble in every way. So anyway, this is the finished product for the one left next to the engine. I showed you the one where the handle is, so I've dispensed with the ball joint altogether. There's no need. This is a piece I turned. There's a 13mm across the flats bolt nut. I have a little hole drilled in here that goes down into the bolt here, and it's brazed. Now on this end here, I wanted a swivel, because the problem is that I need to be able to twist this out, but I need a chain on this, because as sure as anything, the problem with these things is, as we say, the fruitery. You'd lose the wee things down on the grass or wherever you are, and you can spend your whole day searching, and even then you mightn't get it. It's a sickener. I knew a lad, one of them had a Ferguson 20, and he lost a little nut off the pump, and he found it by dropping little other nuts down to see how to hop on the way down. It seemed to have worked for him. I have a bit of red grease on this. So now this bit here has the piece through it. You see that? So that'll be grand. That'll go onto the throttle, and that'll take any pressure. Stainless steel, the very best. The holes are drilled and tapped 10 UNF, 10 Yankee. So you see, this is the receiver part here. That goes on the cable here, and that's it. Now, this is the other part. This is the part that goes in. So this here screws in here through the back. So it means you can feel it. Once you get this up, you can put this in even without being able to see, and you can feel it and get it into the hole, and then you can screw away. Now I want it with a chain, so I have put in a swivel. So you see the idea of the swivel. So the swivel is another piece of, I think it's stainless as well. I think it is. Another piece, it's made the shape of a cup or an upturned glass, like if you had a drinking glass, and it's drilled down about 1/4 inch or a little more, I'd say about 7, maybe 8 mil, and there's a smaller hole at the top here. But this then into that is a piece turned very like a masonry nail or an ordinary wire nail. It is a flathead. It's pushed up when it's all out. There's a hole drilled in this ring here. You see this one here, in here, and it's brought up here and it's brazed. Now, this is a very good example where you use a high melting point brazing for the first steps of it, so that you can braze the second steps without melting the first. And so this was done with a very high melting point. I think it was nearly brass, or maybe I think it was maybe 34 silver steel. So high melting point, so that when I'd go working on this, it wouldn't melt this piece here. Do you understand? So that's very important to understand about brazing. You use the highest you can temperature, and that's the cheapest because there's less silver, and maybe no silver if you're using just brass. And then you go down the way, then when you go to heat it again, you use a lower melting point right up to a 55% silver, so you don't melt the original joint. So you want to melt this one here, but not melt this one here. And because this is a smaller one up here, it needs to be tougher. You need good strong silver solder, and if the less silver the better up here. And then you can use silver solder here because the surface area is bigger. So silver solder will get you by here, but you need a good brass, a good braze for this bit here. So the nail comes up here, out through the top of this, protruding, and then you try to upset it with a chisel that it doesn't fall out, so that it has a bit of retention from clenching it a bit. Now, it's not possible to clench it straight down. If it were, it'd be a good job, but you just braze it anyway, and it works like that. So that's your swivel, do you see? So I can put a chain on here now, and if that drops off, well, it's hanging there. And I told you before, I made a top for a tank of an antique tractor, and the man was filling it up with fluid. And someone rang him on the phone, and he forgot to put it back, and he went off with it and did a job, and then he'd be taught at the cap, and he says if only for Val's chain, it'd be gone, and there it was hanging down. This great job. It's a great job. I would be putting all my things like that. But the swivel even makes it better. Well, that one had a swivel on the top. It was designed into it, sort of. But this one here, so that's how you make a swivel. I have no example here to give you, but you get a piece, the shape of a cup. You drill it up. A piece of any kind of bar steel will do. You drill up into it wide, but you don't drill it right through. You then drill a very small, maybe a 5 diameter, I'd say this is 4 hole here, so that it can't pull out. You have this piece either turned with a head on it like a nail head, or you can turn it out, or you could even use a nail, I suppose, but a masonry nail would be a bit hard. It might do, I don't know. I turned this up out of another piece of silver steel, they call it. Now that's not stainless steel. Silver steel is tool steel. Have a few bits of it there. I got it. I get it from an Irish supplier, but I think I'll be going back to an English supplier because I wasn't satisfied with the quality. So anyway, this goes through here and up into this here, and then I can put any way a chain or any way I like into it, and you see you have the swivel. Now I'm repeating me words here, but that helps people to understand. So that's how I make a swivel, and it's not a very bad way of doing it at all. Not a bad way of doing it at all, and it works really well. Okay, we'll put it together. I want this little nut to be here, so that when I put it on the cable, it'll be able to be tightened up on it. It's not meant to be here. And then this screws in here. You see through the housing, through the body of the throttle on the engine, and that'll screw up tight. And this will hold a 13 spanner, and this will probably be a vice grips job. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I could file flats on it, but no, it'll do with vice grips. Tighten it up, and that'll be it. And then this chain will go on and stick it onto something on the engine where it won't be in the way, and sure, if it falls out, what about it? So that's it, folks. 7 minutes, a little bit of a project there. Again, of course, unfortunately, unless you have a lathe and a good heating source, you might get away with a propane torch. Indeed, you might with one of those MAPS torches. I think you probably would, but anyway, if you have the bit of oxy propane, well, then you have it made. Okay, and you can get them now, I think, in small little canisters. I think you can, both the oxygen and the propane. And if I was using them small ones, I'd heat my stuff with an ordinary torch, with the MAPS torch, or even a propane torch, benzomatic. I'd heat it up, and I'd only use my oxygen propane for the final soldering. And if needless to say, everything has to be thoroughly degreased. I use acetone, totally clean, totally degreased. And when I was soldering this piece on here, you see this piece here, I made sure that there were little gaps. I cut little nicks in it. If you have, this was in the vise so I could solder. If you clamp that together and there's no space for the solder needs a little bit of space to run by capillary action. It soaks into it, and therefore you can't have it tight. But what you do is you put a little nick with the angle grinder, being careful with it with your eyes, put 4 nicks around, nice little air holes as it were, and then when you let it in, the solder run through them, and it'll get in a bit inside, and it'll give you a good enough bond. That's plenty strong, that'll not break in a fit, and but that's how you do it. If you're brazing or soldering, silver soldering, and you have to keep it in a vise or something, you must try and make sure that there's some little space, very tiny. I'd be going half the width of a sheet of typing paper, or the other way, then just put nicks on it with a hacksaw or whatever, so that the solder can flow in to those nicks. And if there's 4 or 5 of them, well, that'll hold it, and they'll usually go in a wee bit into the tight bits as well, and they'll get round on the inside, and you'll have plenty of strength. But don't try to silver solder pieces tight, real tight together, because it'll just stick around the edge. It won't go in between the parts, do you understand? Because it needs just a little space, there's books on it, but it needs just a wee bit of space. So there's two ways to do it. One is machine it so there is tiny space somewhere, and the other is just run a file, put a couple of teeth in it, cut a few wee troughs in it, wee nicks, and that'll let the solder in. Okay, so that's that project, just to show you the idea of what can be done. And don't go out buying lathes, because you get a bad lathe, especially a second-hand one, you're better without it. You need a middling good one. So I've done a video on that before. Okay, thank you very much. Good luck. See you. Bye.